What's up, Gear Mortals? Trey Xavier here, and we're back again with part 2 of our video series on how to put together a fly rig style pedal board with some mini pedals. And today we're taking a look at delay pedals. We just took a look at some wahs in the last video, and now we're moving on to some ambient sounds. So the wah was something that we put in front of the amp. Now the delay pedals we are running in the effects loop. Now it is possible to also run them in front of the amp, but what I find is that when you're delaying the signal, if you're using distortion, which of course this is a kind of a metal channel, so I assume that you are. When you're using distortion, what happens is if you run the signal that's been delayed into the front of the amp, what you get is kind of a mess of distorted signals, and it kind of overloads the front of the amp. I don't think it sounds that great. It's a very particular sound. Some people like it. If you plan to use your pedals that way, that's great. That's not how we did it for the Shootout for here right now, though. So all the sounds you're hearing are in the effects loop of the amp. We use the PRS Archon once again. So I'm going to take you through each of these pedals. We have 6 of them today, and give you a taste of what each one can do on a clean sound and on a distorted sound. So buckle up. Alright, so now you've seen and heard a little bit of what each of these pedals can do and what they sound like. Now, of course, I couldn't go through every single possible combination of every, different knob and different settings. I just tried to give you an idea of what they sounded like at what I thought was their best. So, now I'm going to go through and talk about each of the pedals and what I liked about them, what I didn't like, how they're different, and the different features. So this pedal right here is the TWA Fly Boys Echo. It's very simple, 3 knobs, just rate, echo, and intense. It's an analog style, so each repeat of your performance is sort of rolled off on the high end, so it kind of goes, which is kind of nice. That's something that I'm going to talk about a lot, is the difference between analog style and digital delay. It's pretty important. A digital delay literally just takes the exact same thing that you just played and it sounds pretty much identical tone-wise and as far as the EQ curve, and it just plays it back quieter, basically, and several times rhythmically, of course. Now, the analog one, like I said, kind of rolls off the high end, which I think is cool, especially for soloing, because sometimes with a digital delay, the repeats are stick out too much in the mix. So an analog delay, it's still there, but it's not quite as in your face. So if that's a sound that you like, this one does it really well. Like I said, extraordinarily simple, and yeah, good sound. The tape machine from Tone City is essentially identical. Tone City, also a brand new company. This one sounds great. I can't remember, honestly, one of these had a slightly longer delay available, but essentially the same idea. This one's a tad bit heavier, if that makes a difference to you. About the same size. Yeah, and of course it's called the tape machine, so it's obviously analog style, like I said. Yeah, another good one, if simple's your bag. Now, the Hotone Eko. Now, this is part of the Skyline series. To me, it looks like a little robot face, which is kind of cute. Obviously, it's a great deal smaller than most of the rest of these, with the exception of the Joyo. They're, really using the space available to them quite well. They've got this time knob on the top, which is less convenient if you want to be changing it around during your set on stage, but also you won't hit it when you step on it. So that's out of the way in a good way. Now, this one has a added feature that the first two did not, and that is the mod button, which essentially adds a kind of shimmery chorus sound to the delay. Really great for nice clean sounds. Makes it kind of sparkle. Other than that, pretty much the same idea. Nothing too special, but in a much smaller package. The Mooer Repeater is where we start to get a little bit fancy. The Repeater has the same 3 controls that we were talking about in the previous pedals, but we also have this switch that says mod, normal, and kill dry. Now, the mod, of course, actually the same as the mod on the Hotone Eko, gives you a little bit of a chorusy sound. Normal is normal, no change. And then the kill dry is actually very important if you're using your amp set up a certain way. You can, if you have a sort of a wet dry knob on your effects loop, you can use the kill dry so that the delay is only feeding the delay and the sound that's coming in doesn't pass through the pedal. So that's important. Like I said, if you come across an amp that's dialed in a certain way or set up a certain way, like I said, this is for basically when you're using gear that's a little unfamiliar to you, and it's great to have that option. Or if you're running a stereo rig and you can set this to go to the second amp or the second source or whatever, and have just the delay sound coming through one amp or speaker or whatever. Okay, the Joyo Quattro digital delay from their Iron Man series. It's called Iron Man because, of course, you can't see it now, but it's got these two little dots that light up, also known as bulbs, LEDs, and it kind of looks like Iron Man, like a little Iron Man mask. And this, of course, covers your settings, so when you kick it, and I said when you kick it because you will, you don't mess them up. This one has 4 different settings, and the 3 normal delay knobs. So it's got copy, which is just straight up digital delay. So no high-end roll-off or anything. Analog, which has that analog sound. And the mod, which of course we discussed, chorus. And then one called filter, which has a sort of a time-based filtering. So it kind of sounds like analog, but it has like a kind of goes like less filtered to more filtered, something like that. It's different. I demonstrated it. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't, who knows. So this one's of course also extremely compact. Let's see, well, yeah, the same size as the Echo, and weighs about the same. Tiny. Now, here's the one that you're definitely going to want to look into. Now, the Flashback from TC Electronic is fully digital. It's only got 3 knobs. Looks simple like these first ones, but it's actually the most complex and flexible of the bunch. It has, as you can probably see here, a USB plug. Now, this is pretty amazing. You can plug the Flashback Mini into your computer and download an editor for it, and you can not only edit your sounds in great depth with lots of settings that don't exist on the front panel, but you can also download tone prints from TC Electronic that will that are made by artists. Basically, there are settings that have been made by people like John Petrucci and other people. That was the only one that I used. Andy Summers from The Police made one, just sat down and tweaked the settings to his liking. You can download his settings straight into it. So that's pretty damn handy. It's, I mean, it's so beautiful. It's a great little toy. I mean, it didn't necessarily sound better than any of these. There was plenty of great sounds here. You could dial in some that are probably identical to this, but it has the most flexibility, the most possibilities, and you can really dial it in hardcore. If you don't want to mess around with something like that, if you think it's too complex, it very well could be. It's really easy to get lost in something like that, and if the settings get messed up and you're on tour, then you don't really have a good way of fixing it if you don't have a computer with you. So there's that to consider. But it's real cool. So now the moment of truth. Which one of these is going to go on my pedal board? Once again, this is not a qualitative assessment of these pedals. I thought they were all great. Literally any one of them could go on my pedal board pretty easily. But there was one that edged the rest out in terms of what I like. And you probably could tell that I was gushing over the TC Electronic one. I am a bit of a tone tweaker. I like to be able to have lots of options and really to dial it in very specifically. So this is the one that I'm going to use. It's going to be a bit more of a time suck, of course, when I'm sitting there dialing it in. And, you know, if you get to the gig and it's not exactly the way you need it, you can still, you know, tweak the basic parameters without having access to a computer or whatever. And I think that the slight risk of somehow it resetting to some other setting is worth the possibility of having lots of different sounds at my fingertips. And for instance, being able to program it for a different kind of gig that I have to fly to. You know, if I get a call from Mariah Carey. That's never going to happen. Seriously, though, call me. Yeah, you know, I want to be able to have, like, a different sound that I could just boop, and away we go. So, that's the one I'm going to use. But, really, any of these are good. I encourage you, once again, to spend a little time with the video, go back and forth, take a look at the features, decide which one is best for you if you are in need of a tiny delay pedal. These are some really great ones. I liked them all. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you want to let me know which one of these was your favorite pedal, please do me a favor and leave a comment down below. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got a couple more videos in this series coming up, and I'm sure you're dying to know what these other little tiny pedals I've got are going to sound like, and which one's going to be the best for my pedal board, and maybe which one's going to be the best for your pedal board. So I will see you then.